comfortable questions like, what was he telling you? Why he was raping you? Because if, for example, an offender is raping a victim and he is saying things like, oh, I am sorry, you could know that he was not motivated by anger or sadism. He might just be motivated by lust. If he's raping somebody and he's asking things like, I hope you are not feeling pains, you could say that is verbalizing concern. If he's raping somebody and he's saying that God will punish you, wicked women, I will deal with you, I will finish. I mean, there are some verbalizations that shows the desire to extract revenge, wickedness, sadism, control. And so you ask such unfavorable questions. So you need to train people, groom detectives in such a way that when they talk to victims, they will be able to connect with them at a level where victims will feel very safe to confide in them.
DCP Franco, thank you very much. The program is over. I said the program is...
I should sign off and walk away.
No. We had you yesterday. We are still going to have you today. But of course, this is a very serious subject matter. But let's turn now to Esther Uzoma, who, of course, is a regular face on Good Morning Nigeria. It's just taking us through the experiences people have. But is there an explosion? On this program a couple of weeks or so ago, one of our guests, who's an expert on population issues, referenced in passing the upsurge in sexual violence. That competition for resources is quite small. There's a great deal of frustration, and people are just some maladjusted persons are therefore finding expression in sexual violence that we are seeing. But where do we have these cases most common? In crowded urban areas or low density suburbs? Sometimes, occasionally, I'm sure there are reports from the rural areas. But what is the geography of this?
From my experience, particularly, the matters I've done in court, their prevalence, in the slums, regrettably. The one I did at FCT High Court, was from the slums of Buhari. All right, the one in Nasarawa State, was in those places where, even as I talk about it, I cringe. People live in houses facing each other. You see green water flowing. My neighbor, my uncle. It's also the tragedy, Kingsley, of the rich man is that this woman is obliged to keep up a facade. That's the tragedy. But you see the poor. This, for instance, the one I did in Nasarawa, this woman did not keep quiet. She saw her daughter, 2-year-old, bleeding in this Mopo man's house. She screamed, everybody came. She didn't, but you see, my encounter with the rich, they need to keep up the facade. To their Facebook friends, to their WhatsApp friends, their Instagram family and well-wishers that, we are perfect. But you see, something is wrong. All right? But for these people in these very densely populated areas, they demand instant justice. In fact, for the one in Nasarawa, it took the police to intervene. So the people wanted to burn down that Mopo man's house. Okay, and then he was immediately court-martialed, facing, dismissed. The law took his course and all that. So it is in places of high density. And another factor is this: we confuse the children. Everybody is not uncle. Everybody is not family. And, the child gets confused. Because, when you say, hey, give uncle this, give daddy this, there's a level of trust you build in that child for anybody with that appellation. So we confuse the kids. And then when we don't talk about the child's biological parts, for instance, I know I can't mention those parts now because NBC said, please don't mention it. But then the children knows. So if we say these places are sacred, when somebody is violating those places, they don't talk about it. They think, oh, something has happened to me. Meanwhile, the cartoons they watch talk about it. Cartoons. And so we confuse the child from, the messages. Everybody is not uncle. Everybody, don't sit on everybody's lap. That's how this child. So you find, accidents waiting to happen. Grenades waiting to explode because this child is doing what? Bottling so much. Do you know that I had a case? A man impregnated his daughter. The wife was taking that child to mountain to cast demons. This girl is pregnant. She never, the father, eventually when this girl spoke, he said, Mom, you didn't listen to me. The first day daddy touched me, I told you, you said I'm possessed. So she didn't bother. She just had a baby, by the way. And doesn't want the law. Because she wants, I don't know. I don't know, Kingsley. She's still living under that roof.
With the father
and the children.
and the newborn baby?
Yes. They're all living.
No. Well, I think the law enforcement agencies will have
yeah,
to pick you and they will have
yeah.
to step
But at the point when they say, I don't want the police, they say, listen, we don't want.
They will have to step in. I mean, at some point, that's a product of an incestuous relationship.
We also need to break the culture of silence.
I agree.
We need to break the culture of silence. And because of the stigmatization that comes with it, people are, they will rather be quiet about it. If I talk, my daughter will not get married. Who wants to marry my daughter? And all of that. People will say, oh, look at you. You have been raped. You have been violated and all of that. But we need to break all of that and come out. Let people speak up. If you're being violated or if you're being raped or anything, people should learn to, it's difficult really, but they need to build confidence in the system and come out knowing that when they come out, they will get justice.
Yes.
They will have support. We cannot be doing the same. We can't keep doing this and people are suffering, our children are suffering, our women are suffering, and also by extension, our boys are also suffering. So we need to break that culture of silence, and we all have duty to help people to end and break the culture of silence.
Before we turn to DCP Frank Mba, may I remain with you at the job? And my question is, should there be any reason to blame the victim, apart from the toddlers or those that are defiled, the minors that are defiled? The adult women, who are raped, should that be any form of blame? Because from what we read in recent times about of course, I may not mention that, but we know about the rape that has to do with clergy and the lady for several years, and she came up to say that on air, and people blamed her. One, you didn't shout. Two, why were you there? And all of that. So should that be a situation where the victim could be blamed, perhaps for being wherever she is at the moment, or for even accepting a date, with someone you've never met before, like those who do that on Facebook, right? You have a friend in Lagos, you've not seen him before, you've been interacting for 1 year or more, and he invites you to Lagos, you go there, you recall the story of Cynthia, in Lagos, and all that. So should that be a point where you blame the victim?
Well, I think the law readily comes in here, because I cannot seem to see any reason why we should blame the victims. And that is why the law talks about consent. And even consent that is obtained with fraud or by threat is not consent, or by deceit is not consent. So it is not enough to say because she was found with me at night or because she agreed to go out with me. That is not sufficient reason for us to blame a victim of rape. A victim of rape needs empathy. They need empathy. They don't need to be blamed for any reason that it was because I went out. Or sometimes we hear things such as her dress was skimpy. She was dressed in a way. Yes, she was asking for it. Her dress was provocative. For God's sake, that is not enough reason why you should pounce on her and rape her. So there is no justification whatsoever for anybody to rape another person.
So the victim cannot be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So a victim cannot be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
No, not enough reason for a rape.
Yes, just to support my sister. Acts, criminal offenses, do not have, you can't judge them on the altar of morality. That is why we, champion that we are in a civilized society. There are laws that guide our conduct. Consent to a date or even party at night is not an invitation for bodily violation. It's not an invitation for rape. Listen, when a woman says no, she actually means no. The way we raise our boys, who grew up with so much sense of privilege, male privilege is still alive. And sometimes it is women that raise these boys. If you see the sense of entitlement, I control the remote control, and then it starts from the home and extends to other female. That has to be the victim of a crime. It's like blaming a rich man for being rich, and then he's boggled. Okay? It's like blaming what about the idiot? The Punch newspaper today was talking about an idiot. That's an imbecile that was raped. What about that? What about the baby that was violated? The baby's fault is that she was not wearing pampers. Hello? Let us not even think about generating any kind of thought, evolving thought around the issue of blame of any sort to the victim of any crime, be it rape, violation, assault, armed robbery. We can't begin to do that. If we do that, the criminals have won.
Okay, well, that's an aspect related to victim-instigated crimes in criminology.
That's right.
DCP Franco, I know you were itching to respond to one of the issues that they raised, but still on all of this, how is the law responding to...
These are an implicit analysis, of the stages, stages of this, and it's a whole work, for a man to begin to think in that direction and develop those processes. It's really a crime because it's a predetermined, planned and done and executed.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, it's a criminal mind at work.
Exactly. And on the social media just last week, we saw a young man in the village. That's like he said, that it happens also in localities where a young man of about 32 raped an 80-year-old woman who is running a shop, somewhere. 80-year-old. So you can imagine how. In fact, it's unbecoming. That's the point that this Frank raised, and that's on the issue of prosecution. And that's why I'd like other lawyers to come in. Is it really difficult to prosecute cases, and where does the burden of proof lie? Yeah,
it's fantastic. Now, there's a dynamism that we have brought to the prosecution of these offences. For instance, for the policeman who violated a young boy, for 3 months, we actually, first of all, while the criminal part was going on, we used fundamental rights. And when we came to court, it was not done before, never. The court asked us, fundamental rights? I said, sure. We argued very strongly that fundamental rights to dignity.
That's not dignity.
We did it before Justice Ojo of our City High Court, that the right to dignity of this young boy has been breached. We also argued very strongly that his life has also been, the right to life has also been breached.
Impaired, yeah.
Yes, by this consistent anal penetration. And at the end of the day, we had a medical doctor who came and testified that yes, this constant anal penetration actually impaired the health, jeopardizes, and then the court saw with us, and then fundamental rights, we used it successfully. It was wow. And then after we did it in FCT,
what was the relief?
We asked for damages. Okay, so what they gave, he forfeited his house. He said he's a policeman in Buare. All right, so that was the relief, and then the court also ordered constant medical, care. It was not done before. So these are the dynamics we are evolving. All right, we did it there. We did it in Nasarawa. We did it in Kano for the 6-month-old baby Khadija that was raped. Now, strictly, we encourage other lawyers to use it. When we used it, it was not done. But the court said yes, upheld the argument. And then strictly for the criminal trial, penetration, Now, depending on under which law a person is being charged, if it's under the penal code, prove that it has occurred, all right? That's in that concept, you have to prove penetration. And the law, the dynamism, the judicial activism, the prophecies coming from the court, they say, listen, penetration, it doesn't mean you are mere touch, mere contact, suffices for penetration. Now look at what FCT is doing. That's why I commend and I actually advocate for more funding for their gender units.
Oh, the police.
I do very, very strongly. Once that report is made, the first thing they do is take you to the hospital. All right? Even though after some months, evidence of body fluid can still be found. But we don't have that cutting-edge technology. So penetration to prove rape is not difficult anymore. Most times, the courts relies on availability, isolation, circumstantial evidence is used. And corroboration now suffices if who did you tell? You don't have to scream. I talked to my mother about it. I told my school teacher about it. The law has now evolved. Say, listen, that will suffice. So all that is necessary, therefore, is you have to approach and provoke the machinery of justice.
Esther, thank you very much. Mrs. Adejo Andrew, let's get your own take on how the law responds to instances of sexual violence, or how the law should respond or ought to respond.
Okay. The law actually has enough provisions to take care of the cases of rape, the case of rape. If you look at the penal code, although it's an old law, you see that the punishment for rape is life imprisonment. The same thing with criminal code in the South. And then if you also go to the VAP Act, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, the law says that for rape, in fact, it is the first section of that law.
That's right.
Rape is the very, very first section of that law. And it says that the punishment for rape, the VAP Act is even more dynamic. It's more liberal. The interpretation or definition of rape is wider in the VAP Act. And it says that the punishment for rape is life imprisonment. It also provides for issues such as gang rape, where a person is gang raped, the punishment for each of those offenders is 20 years. So it's not as if there are no laws. The laws are there. But for me, I still think that why we don't have a lot of cases prosecuted successfully is because people are really not coming out. And even in cases and instances where they come out, a lot of times along the way, you meet a brick wall. They tell you, just like Mr. Frank Umba said, they tell you once your witnesses say they are no longer, they don't want to continue, they don't want to go on, what do? They mess up the case for you. You're stopped. You cannot proceed. But if they cooperate with you and you continue the matter, the laws are there. We have enough provisions to punish these offenders. But human resources people are not willing to continue with prosecution. Sometimes you even have parents of a child, for instance, say they are going to collect compensation. Sometimes they collect as low as 50,000, 70,000. But like under the VAP Act, which I talked about, apart from the fact that there's imprisonment, there's also the issue of compensation for the victim. So once you successfully secure a conviction under the VAP Act, apart from that conviction, the victim will be compensated. So we have all of those protections.
Prosecution. How diligent is prosecution? You talked about the fact that sometimes witnesses are unwilling to be of help, but who takes on the task of prosecution? Is it the DPP or the police? I will return to you to get your response to this, and indeed the two other guests who are with us after we return from this short break. All All right, welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're still discussing sexual violence in Nigeria, and our three guests are still with us in the studio. Just before we took that short break, I was asking the question of diligent prosecution and who undertakes it. Of course, allied to the question of diligent prosecution also has to do with the trajectory of the case. On the average, how long does it take to dispose of a rape matter? Because if we know how the judicial system works in the country, could we also, in that circumstance, if it is slow, fast track? Adejo and
Okay,
first.
Adejo and okay. Who prosecutes under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act? The Office of the AGF, the Director Public Prosecution, prosecutes, and then also you can apply for fiat as an individual to prosecute the matter. Now, talking about how long prosecution takes, it depends. It's not a clear cut. It depends on so many factors. Sometimes it could depend on the prosecutor himself. Does he have enough facts? Is he ready to go on with the matter? And then, of course, we also have the courts. But under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, we know that matters go on day-to-day basis. So it is fast. It is no longer as slow as it used to be.
Okay, I think one good thing that has happened in terms of reporting of rape cases is social media. Because many people are now having the courage to come out to talk. Even when the rape took place some years ago, some people are coming up to say something, and this on the reportage we were talking about